All right, and we are back for part 4 of our Learn to Play Frostpunk 2 series. It has been a bit, just life stuff comes up, but hey, we're going to get it done, and we're going to pick up right where we left off, which is in a pretty good spot in my opinion, but you know how it is. Frostpunk 2 is very unforgiving and can change at a moment's notice. For example, taking a quick look up here. Crime is stable, but you can see it's kind of got this inky look. It's not a good sign. Disease is diminishing, so probably don't have to worry about that too much, but it is still something we have to be cognizant of. And it is also slightly increased by 7 cold districts. So if we take a quick look over here, we can see that the housing districts are more or less livable, and the other ones are the cold ones, which is typically how we want to keep things in, especially these trying times. So if you can keep your housing districts warm or livable, and then reduce everything else as needed, because people aren't going to be able to sleep if they're cold. So that is not good, but it's also really hard to work when you're cold too. So either case, I'll take the lesser of the two evils by putting it on the work areas. So something I want to address real quick. I have gotten a few comments about, hey, how come you build only on one resource node? And it's a great question. If you notice, a lot of my districts are singular resource nodes. Singular, singular, singular. Why is that? Typically, I do that because I just default as a way to control how much I'm pulling from these, because sometimes you can just have a ton of surplus and it's just being wasted. I like to be able to control the amount that comes in, because the more districts you place, the more output you get. Now that can increase or decrease depending on the kind of buildings that you put in, but it ultimately just affects the total amount that you could pull from that singular district. With that being said, I will admit it is far better, especially in this case when you're learning how to play, to cover multiple resource nodes, because it is 1, labor efficient, and 2, resource material efficient for building the district. And say if you build a building on this district and it's covering multiple nodes, it affects all of those. Now keep in mind, the node is just adding to the total volume of what that district has to be able to pull from. It doesn't affect the output. What affects the output is building more districts, building buildings on them, and so on and so on. So in this case, if I were you, you guys should pivot to covering more districts. So in this, more nodes with a single district. So in this case, built a single district on this, that would have had a lot of food to pull from. But as you can see, I have 2 districts here, so I'm pulling more food. We need to have more, but with 2 districts, I'm pulling, let's see, 42 here, 42 there, and it's low right now because it's cold, but you get the idea. So if it was just a single district, I'd only have 42, but I have 42 plus 42. And so that's the advantage of having multiple districts. But again, it's just something that I'm defaulting to, because later on in the game, building materials and heat stamps, prefabs, all that good stuff aren't a bottleneck. But in this case right now, they are. So my recommendation to you, do the resource and labor efficient thing, cover more nodes with a single district. You might have to build further out if you need to increase your output though. So just do keep that in mind. Like here, we had to build, but we were also trying to get to this too. So it was kind of 2 birds with 1 stone. But yeah, that's what I wanted to address. So that way no one's kind of confused, like, oh, why is he doing that? But that was the reason why. Going back to the game, let's go ahead and see what we were trying to do. Because I know we are researching, looks like we need to research actuated heat dispatcher, which is not what we're doing right now. We're doing dust coal mine, and that's something that we're doing here. So we're going to get this. After that, we're going to do that. And then we have to find a permanent source of fuel outside the city. I got another comment saying, hey, what are we supposed to do about the coal? How do we solve the coal problem? And that's what we're doing as we play the game, is that we are figuring out how to solve that issue. And not to get ahead of ourselves or to spoil the game, but you will eventually come to a decision point in the game where you have to choose, embracing, I shouldn't say this, but embracing the Frostland versus embracing another source of fuel, which it was kind of hinted at the beginning, especially if you've seen the trailers of this game, but embracing oil. So the question is, do you embrace the Frostland and use that to derive fuel, or do you embrace oil and go that way? And depending on your answer, you change your generator to accommodate either a hybrid form, with coal and oil, or you go full in on oil and no coal. So with that being said, let's go ahead and unpause it, because that's the only way we are going to progress in the game. We are at 213 weeks, now 212, at left of coal reserves. And that's also another reason why I was building those single districts, because I'm able to, slow down or throttle as needed. But we are, we don't have a lot of stockpile either, and we're kind of suffering from that in our heat areas too. I got to remember if I'm actually overdriving the engine. I am overdriving it looks like. So let's see. Yeah, so it is in the overdrive, and that's a temporary measure to keep things warm, but we'll have to turn that off eventually, because we are going to, kind of drive the engine a bit too hard. So we don't want to do that just yet. We do need to get our prefabs up. We're getting our heat stamps up. So another thing I was considering is, because right now we need to worry more about prefabs than heat stamps, part of me wants to switch the law that we had in terms of, I believe it was, community service. So Central District provides a small amount of prefabs. That is pretty nice to have. The heat stamps is good, but I mean, right now, I would say that prefabs are kind of a limiting factor. So I might switch that if no one else is going to ask for a law. So that's something we might do. But right now, I'm hoping that when the warmer season comes up, our food issue is going to disappear. But we still have a problem with materials. We are technically at a surplus. I don't know why it says surplus, even though we're less than 10% of what we can hold. Frostlanders met, or demands met. Awesome. So now our relationships increased and trust rises overall. Awesome. So now that we're done with that, let's go ahead and research actuated heat dispatcher, because that is something that we need to do in order to make them happy. So actuated heat dispatcher. So you can see here, this is just a regular heat dispatcher. Make sure you click over here to get to the actuated part. And you can also tell that, hey, this is a promise to them. So not sure why this has got this on there, but I think it's because they might like it. But at least this one, it tells you it's a promise that you're making to them. So let's go ahead and do that. And then let's see. Looks like we got a good amount of workforce. I think we forgot that we had a lot of workforce. So let's go ahead and increase that. Even though it is cold, we got a good amount of people to help us out. Now that we actually have a good amount of people, let's stop for a second and look around. I'm not too worried about food. Our shelter's fine. We did anticipate bringing those people in. I do want to build a goods stockpile because we are limited, and that is also increasing our crime, which is not good. But we do need more heat. This is going to solve it in the interim, but as you can see here, we have a colder season coming up. So what do we do there? Well, we could build another coal thing. We can also build another, or we could build our first industrial district, which is fantastic because that gives us prefabs, or it also gives us goods. Just depends on what you want to do with it. So you can see processed materials into prefabs or goods can produce other resources with additional infrastructure. So I like to build my industrial districts in here, and the reason why is because there is a temperature bonus that you can get from here, just like you can get it from here. There's also one over here, and I think we kind of did clear this up a bit. So yeah, so it looks like this is open. So if we built this, I'm wondering if this only affects housing now, because I'm not getting the bonus here. What if we put one here? No, looks like we don't get it. So let's see if we get it if we put a housing district there. And if that is the case, then I'll just build a random industrial district anywhere else. Although it looks like we can get 5 shelter here, but I'm not going to ask someone to live in an industrial district. That doesn't make sense. So let's go ahead and keep going. But we do have a good amount of people ready for us. So let's see. What are we waiting for? Prefabs, 45 more. Geez, it's a good amount. It's a good amount. The question is, should we build a extraction district on here instead to boost our prefabs? And let's employ that that thing that we were just talking about, covering more nodes. I think that is going to be a fantastic idea. Although, hold on. We could expand this technically and cover this and cover that, but our output might not be so great. What does it take to... Okay, so 50 heat stamps and 50 prefabs versus 150, or sorry, yeah, 150 prefabs and 40 heat stamps and 600 workforce. Does this take workforce? It still would be a limiting factor, but it would save us a good amount of material. So maybe we do that. Maybe that's the call here, and then put a building on there. Yeah, let's try that. I think that's a good call here, because now instead of what it once said, now we have 800 whatever prefabs, because we added 400 plus 400 now that we're expanding the district. And then we could see about what kind of building slot we want to add here. And well, we don't really have a building slot for getting prefabs, so we're going to kind of stay at our 15 a week, but at least we are a bit more efficient with our resources. So that does leave us with the ability to kind of wait for stuff like, yeah, now we can get this industrial district and put out some more stuff. So let's see. Oh, we got something going on here. Heat stamps. Evolvers suggest action. Evolvers propose a solution for the lack of heat stamps in the city. What is their idea? Promise the Evolvers to research salvaging factory. You have 80 weeks to address the issue. Dismiss the suggestion. So the question is, do we want to commit to researching salvaging factory? I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, so research, sure, I can commit to that. That doesn't seem like a big problem to me. So now that we got that, boom. It should also increase the output slightly. Let's see. Yeah, so we went from 15 to 20. Not the worst thing in the world, but the deposit is now nice too, so now we don't have to worry as much about running out. So let's go ahead and take a look at... I really want to build a industrial district, but as you can see, I'm kind of going back and forth. We're almost done to prefabs. Actually, let's just fast forward that real quick to get the necessary prefabs. So is it... Yes, it is only housing districts that benefit from that. Shoot. Okay, well, that sucks. You would hope that other districts could get that benefit, but it looks like only housing districts do. So it is what it is. So let's go ahead and build an industrial district elsewhere. Where do we want to build one? I would kind of say like right over here, because nothing's really being done over here. So let's go ahead and do that. I like that. There we go. We're kind of keeping stuff away from each other. All that good stuff. And boom, let's go ahead and get that done. Because this is going to make a squalor area, I believe. So we want to avoid that. Squalor and probably noise too. Population increase. Nice. So now we have more people working for us. Excellent. Excellent. Let's see. We got the blasting coal mine. I think we already have... Yeah, we already have a blasting coal mine. Actually, we could expand this to cover... we can cover these two if we wanted to. That way we could save the resources. I kind of like that idea. And there we go. Boom. So let's do the math real quick. So we have 108K. So if we expanded the district, we should get 72 plus 72 to the 108K. So let's go ahead and do that. Boom. Look at that. So yeah, the coal did increase, and that's what I mean. So we just add more to the deposit. That's pretty much all it's doing. But it's also more resource efficient. So do keep out for those spots that you can do that. And again, just note, it's not going to increase the output. It just increases the efficiency of your resources when creating districts. So if I wanted to increase my coal output, I would need to build another district here to get the coal out. I would like to frost break these spots over here. There we go. I do like the idea of frost breaking those, but actually no, we don't need to do that right now. Let's frost break this just in case we can't get through there, so let's do that. Oops. There we go. Oh, our housing is negative, not good. So let's see if there is a housing district that we can perhaps, instead of building out, we can expand. Although building out is nice. So we already expanded that one. We could expand this one. Could expand this one too. So let's go ahead and do this one. I think that one is nice. Let's go and do that. Boom. Same thing here. Oh, we don't have the heat stamps. Dang, we already ran out. Okay. Well, we'll expand a few districts. Hopefully that covers it. All right, so now we are creating goods. We made a little dent in our goods. You know, we're only producing 28. Create more, or let's see if there's no building for it. So yeah, we're only producing 28 right now. So kind of sucks. Let's see if we can increase. Actually, we do need to stop the engine from overdrive. So let's go ahead and give it a break, but it does increase our cold. So let's, dang, that's gonna be a bit rough. So we're gonna have to do a quick check. We're gonna have to lower some things because that's just how it is. Let's go ahead and lower this one. It looks like we could probably let that ride. 15 a day at loss. It's not terrible, but we still don't have people living in a shelter. You can see our numbers are still dwindling. Well, right now we aren't producing enough materials. We do need to get that going. We also need to do another food district too, but the housing is the most important. So with that being said, I'm likely going to switch this to prefabs because I need prefabs right now to build more houses. Goods are nice, but we need to focus on other things. All right, and then now let's research. Do we even have the money? No, we don't even have the money for it. So hopefully this fixes it. All right, so it increased it by 5. So we need, yeah, we need to wait for some more money. I think the next time we get more money, because it's 16 a week, we should have enough to expand this district. There we go. All right, so let's expand this one. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Nice. So that should put us in the positive, but only by 1. So we are kind of at the edge. The lack of law regulating contagion prevention is causing tension to rise through the city. That's not good. We want to prevent tension. So crime is up, no common rules, disease, and all that nasty stuff. Actually, we do have a law ready. Let's see what we can do. Rule, I don't want to do any of these yet. I'm not ready for that. We could increase our heat stamps with this one. That's the nice thing. The question is, do we want to do that? This is supported by the Volvers, and this is supported by the Faith Keepers. So trust rises on this one, but efficiency slightly increases with this one. There's more people for this one than this one. Kind of makes sense. So usually I go for this one. You know, paid the free essentials is pretty nice. You know, it gets people what they need. But in these trying times, you know, do you want to make people pay for what they need? So decisions. I would say that, you know, for role playing, this is nice, but I'm probably going to go for this one. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Propose. I'm respected. So, I mean, if you divide it, you know, round up to 70, you know, 35, 34, usually that's how it's going to split. Even if we get the 34, it's still going to pass because it's going to be above 50. But the question is, do we want to risk that? Do we want to risk it not passing? So let's go ahead and take a look at what they're going to be asking for if we say, hey, vote for this. So I don't want to condemn. We could do a law, or we could build a blasting coal mine. That's not exactly what I want. So let's see, condemn or grant agenda. This one isn't too bad, but because you can give them, hey, vote on this law, but it doesn't mean it's going to pass. You don't, like, you're not saying, I will guarantee you that this is going to pass. The funny thing is, though, if you keep using this community action grant agenda and then their stuff doesn't pass, they actually call you out on it. Be like, hey, we notice you know, like, you give us the ability to bring up our agenda, but it never passes. And so that could piss them off. So it works until it doesn't, sort of thing. So this one isn't too bad to do. I think this one is pretty easy to do, and it also significantly improves the relationship with the Frostlanders. So I'm gonna do that, and then that brings our hesitant to 46. I mean, we would need only 6 of them to vote for it at that point, so it's not even that difficult. So let's just go ahead and do it. I would be shocked if we couldn't get 6 votes on this, but I mean, it could happen, you know what I mean? But as you can see, that's usually not what happens. So all right, so now that's up. So now we should be getting a little bit more. It looks like we're getting about 2, just like the service exemption. So now we have to use grant agenda on the Frostlanders, and the way we do that is we click on them and then grant agenda. Boom. And we already completed it. So now they're going to choose the next law to vote on in 10 weeks. Not a big deal. All right. So it looks like we have our Frostland teams back. I should have probably kept an eye on this now that I think about it. So let's go ahead and go to the Frostland and see what we have available at our disposal. A community of Frostlanders are ecking. Never heard of that. Are ecking, a pitiful living off moss and small fish. With no furnace, they survive by sleeping shoulder to shoulder under thick layers of fur. That is rough. So do we take in the Frostlanders or we come back for them later? I mean, we could take them in. Well, you know, the problem is too, is that we don't really have much housing right now. The others, a cave nearby, has found a disturbing sight. Bodies in a sturdy Frostland laid side to side, but left to freeze with black oil markings over their eyes. A ghastly burial ritual. The map suggests we are heading to an old machine somewhere in the desolate coast. The machine will require a source of fuel. We should investigate. I see. So that's just a kind of little something that says, this is what you're finding. So we have to go over here. It's kind of telling you that there is something going on here. So obviously that is a nice little hint for you. So right now, I don't want to pull in these people. I don't want to pull in these people. We can get this coal if we wanted to. But right now I'm leaving that. So I'm going to send people over here. Boom. To go ahead and get that expedition going. And then we do have 5. So we have 5 to bring these in. I'm not going to... We need a stable source of heat. So yeah, I can't bring these people in until we have a new source of heat. Use the mine. We'll take fewer Frostland teams. Yeah, I think I'm still leaving that for now. The prefabs are nice, but the more I play, as I'm playing this, the more I'm realizing that prefabs still aren't the problem. It is always the heat stamps. So I think keeping the prefabs for a maintained trail is probably the key here. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So we can connect a trail. Boom. Looks like the costs are met, so we don't have the Frostline teams to make that happen just yet. So we got to wait for this to wrap up, and then we could probably make that trail. And then we could start getting a trickle of coal. Supply 250. I mean, that's a lot. That is a lot, not going to lie. So that would be a nice thing to have, and obviously put a nice dent in our coal issue here. We don't have much, but it would probably extend this. Coal left around New London. At least, the coal here is only 180 weeks left, but supplementing it from that abandoned mine is probably going to be a no-brainer. So it looks like devoted, relations devoted. Look at that. That's nice. They are favorable and they are supporting, but devoted, man. It is now our turn to decide. Of course, everyone gets a turn. So, our materials are dwindling. Dwindling. Not good. So what we need to do is we need to unpack these areas. There we go. And it's just, man, those darn heat stamps that are just really driving this. Oh, dang it, I keep forgetting. Yeah, so we need a research salvaging factory. How much money do we need to research that? Let's see. It is right here. Boom. Looks like we need only 50. Okay. So we can wait on this a little bit because we have, 48 weeks. And I think this is only going to take 10 weeks to research. Yeah, 10 weeks. So as long as we start it before the 10-week time limit, we should be okay. All right, so now we're positive. All right, that's good. That is fantastic because we don't want people you know, passing away. It looks like yeah, our tension is minor, but it's not good. This is not a good thing. We want to make sure that this goes away as much as it possibly can. So you can just see how many things are just kind of, you know, rising up, and they just kind of sneak up on you without you really noticing. You know, even though we're trying to solve one problem, we have 20 others that are showing up. You know, not enough shelter, not enough food, not enough material. Crime is rising, squalor is growing, you know, disease, tension. It's just all these things. And on top of all that, we need to figure out this coal situation. It can be stressful, but, you know, the game's also fun. That's what makes it. You know, it's all these things that are coming together and cascading failures. Let's go ahead and research this just to get it off of our plate so we don't have to stress about it. Boom. We'll probably want to handle the materials first, although if we do have a surge in population, it's not going to be good for us. So we do need more money. We can't, you know, afford to lose these things either. I think materials are probably the most pressing. Our food can hold out a little bit longer, but yes, we do need to push for more food here sooner than later. All right, extraction district. I kind of blocked myself out here, so there we go. Got to frost break that. Does spend money, so that's unfortunate. Probably fixing our goods. Our population size, we have feral children. That's not good. We probably fix that with a common rule, which, you know, once this is done, or once, you know, once we give them the agenda, we could probably get a common rule in. But you never know. Maybe maybe their grant agenda gives a common rule thing. All right, so now that's done. Let's get an extraction district going on. We can make a nice big one that covers like all of these. That honestly should cover quite a lot. Yeah, look at that deposit, 600. Dang. That's going to be a nice deposit, I tell you what. But it's only going to be so much because the output is still the limiting factor. But I think we'll be fine with this one. Sick neighbors. Commit to resolving the issue. Either support quarantine or infectious badge. Man, so that means we have to immediately pass a common rule on sickness once, you know, this is done. So we got to get this going as soon as possible. All right, so good demand per capita is slightly decreased. I mean, this is as even as I've ever seen it. 33 for, 33 against, 34 hesitant. I mean, it can go both ways. If you do the math, I mean, they're going to need more than half because, you know, if you put 17, it's 50, but you need 51. I mean, it would be nice. Good demand per capita is slightly decreased. I mean, we could negotiate. Against the worldviews, we have an active promise, so the only person we could do is New Londoners. Build a blasting coal mine. Enact city development effort. This is not what I want right now because I don't need the prefabs. I mean, I could build a blasting coal mine, but it's kind of like whatever. So it's kind of a hard decision on this one. I could build another coal mine and then put a blasting coal mine on it, but then squalor's increased and that's going to increase our material demand. Decisions. I guess, yeah, why not? This is probably the easiest one to do, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And then immediately 80 people. Almost 80, sorry. 79. So let's go ahead and vote for that. Boom. Wow. Overwhelming. Okay. So we need to get that blasting coal mine, so let's go ahead and do an extraction district. Go. It looks like the goods went down, or the good requirements went down, so that is nice. We could also further that by switching this to goods, but it's not going to produce the total amount that we need, but it put a nice dent in it. Go. So now we have positive material, and look at that nice large deposit, because this one's going to run out soon, so this is going to be lasting for quite some time. could probably expand this to put the output even higher, but we'll likely have to do that once this one's down, because this is also providing 165. So watch this number go down, though, because now we're going to be pulling more. See? Went from 150 to 112 now. But we have a positive pull on coal, so that's nice. And then we can build this, because that is our... We have a blasting coal mine, yes. Okay, let's go ahead and put a blasting coal mine. There we go. All right, so now we have to pass any law on contagion. Oh, we have a free thing. Let's go ahead and get the money for it, because that is important. Oh, we got something. Crime in the city. Crime has risen to a concerning level. Not good. Well, let's go ahead and... I think we got to switch it. Yeah, there we go. So, probably going to have to build another industrial district to get that number even lower. But I do want to get a law going here. So, Desolate Coast Explorer. Nice. Okay. I already know it's over here, so this is probably going to take us into small change. So I know that we're going to have to build another logistics district in order to utilize this coal, because we're going to run out of Frostland teams. So I'm going to look at these two, but I'm going to hold off on this one because it's going to give us a cutscene as well as us having to commit to something. So I'm going to hold off on that. Okay, so I don't need that. Oil cistern. There's no point in taking this oil until we learn how to use it. That's right, because, well, guess what's over there? So let's go ahead and we're going to come back to that in a second. I just want to address this stuff first before we continue. Yeah, I want to build a law. So let's go ahead and we could build watchtowers, which is good, but it causes tension to rise, which is not good. This is weird. This used to cause tension, but now it doesn't. So I'm wondering if they changed that recently in a patch. Well, let's go ahead and research this one. Moss filtration tower is nice, but I'm not seeing the tension on that one, so I'm kind of wondering if that changed. But this is a good place to stop. We do have the new oil thing on the horizon over here. Clicking on it, we can actually kind of see we found oil. We'll build a new colony here. So let's go ahead and be able to build a new colony. And you can see we get the nice cutscene. We can see, wow, look at, hey, doesn't that look familiar? Oh, it's from the prologue. I don't know if you remember that, but that's from the prologue. So they ask you, what do you want to do? Do you want to remove the bodies or respect the dead? The harder answer is to respect the dead, because if you remove the bodies, it's easier and you have more oil. But we like to let the deadline piece. There is a way to later on in order to remove the bodies or get the okay, but for now, you know, the only way to be able to see that is to respect the dead. So I'll go ahead and do this one because it is the harder choice, because you can't get immediate access to oil, or at least all of it. So let's go ahead and see how we actually address that. So oil will save the city, but we need to adapt our generators to use it. In the meantime, we need to establish a reliable supply. It's time we settled beyond New London, create a colony at the old Dreadnought, and connect it with a solid trail to New London. Only then can supply be assured. This will save the city. So, oil has been discovered. Let's connect a path. It requires 20 Frostland teams and requires a trail. We don't have 20. So what does that mean? Well, now we have to build another logistics district in order to get this to happen. So, that's why I'm saying I think this is a good place to stop. Now that we know what's going to solve this energy issue, we have a clear direction. So we'll pick up on that next time. And in part 5, we can see how we build up the new colony as well as connecting other colonies and go from there. But as always, I appreciate you guys watching. And if you want to see more content like this, subscribe and check out my channel. I have other games like Surviving the Aftermath and Stellaris that we do these kind of learn to play series. So greatly appreciate it if you check those out. And as always, hope you have a good day. I'll see you next time.